Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Hamilton. I am the member care coordinator here at CHFA. To start, just a few things to remember. Your microphones will be muted for the duration of the webinar. If you do have any questions during the presentation, we do have some time set aside at the end to go through any questions you may have. You can just pop it in the chat or the Q&A. So today I'm so happy to introduce Dre Powell. He is a food content influencer, a digital strategist, and a social media college professor. He is best known for his TikTok snack reviews, where he's built a community of over 215,000 followers. Having worked for some of the top brands, the top food brands in the industry, we're really excited here at CHFA to have him host this webinar. Thank you, Dre, for being here, and I'll let you take over.
Thanks so much, Christina. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you guys for everybody who's here and who is watching over the recording. Basically, I'm going to try my best to get through as much of this as possible. If you have questions, please save them to the end. But basically, I'm going to skip over a few slides. We talked about bio. One thing I'm the most excited about, though, today is my goal today is to do three things. Number one, we're going to talk about how not to be a one-hit wonder. As much as all the brands that are in the room here today probably are super excited about, hey, we want to really go viral. What I have found the most value from building my following and the following of our clients is building a real community. So I'm going to talk about the different steps. And to give you a Canadian analogy, we're going to talk about how to shoot the puck. So we know that Austin Matthews, if you're a Leaf fan, has been scoring a little more. It's because he knows how to shoot the puck. And we're going to talk about the different strategies to actually scoring and building that community. And then, of course, give some tips on how we can get a digital six-pack. Because as many people know, you cannot be in shape by doing push-ups for a week. So we're going to talk about the different strategies to help everybody kind of stay in shape digitally and engage with their community on a consistent basis, and hopefully take away some of the guessing and confusion that may come along with the current state of social media. When we're talking about the current state of social media, I know we're often talking to a lot of brands who want to spend as little money as possible and get as much value in return. So that's why for me, I'm very much obsessed with YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Facebook Reels. Essentially, the TikTokification of social media, where short form video content that educates, entertains, and is rooted in culturally relevant topics is the best opportunity right now for organic reach. In terms of the best bang for your buck right now, we are seeing the most return for our clients, surprisingly, on Facebook Reels. In terms of the platforms that you can spend little to no money on and get engagement with, these are your top four, and we're seeing a large return on Facebook. But the biggest thing why these platforms are important and how they've evolved over time is recognizing that social media content distribution has changed. When I meet with a new potential client, when I'm talking about someone who may be newer to social media or trying to build their following, they say, Dre, I need more followers. Dre, we need more followers because if I get more followers, then more people are going to see my content, and more content seen is hopefully going to equate to more sales. But with social media kind of changing its content distribution, I would say originally led by TikTok, we've seen an evolution of content being distributed based on interests and not just on followers. So previously, maybe 6 years ago, if we were having this conversation, we'd be saying, okay, well, in order to reach 100,000 people, we're going to try and get a following of 100,000. But today, you can have little to no following on these platforms and potentially reach thousands, millions of people. We're going to talk about the steps on how we can improve our content to be able to do so, but more than anything, recognizing that our following is becoming more and more a vanity metric. Of course, building that consistent following of people who see your content first is always great, but in the early stages, people who are just starting on social media, getting obsessed with having a bunch of followers in terms of early stages is a vanity metric. I know it's not as exciting to have 100 followers or 10 followers or even 1,000 sometimes. But at the end of the day, if our goal is to build a real community, a real following, then we need to recognize that it's the content that's going to do that for us. So basically, content is what leads to attention. And the more kind of at-bats we have, the more shots on net that we have, then the more chances we have of actually scoring. So when we talk about how much content you're posting, when we think of when I was building my following, the largest kind of growth that I had was 100,000 followers in about a year's period. During that period, sometimes I was posting as much as 7 to even 10 times a day. Now, I don't think brands need to do that. I don't want to overwhelm people thinking, okay, we got to dedicate our whole lives to building content. The reason that I give that comparison is to answer the question of, can I oversaturate the market? And the answer is absolutely no. Mainly because if you posted 7 times, all of your followers are not going to even see that content, right? We're looking at volume as, again, shots on net, the more chances of that one piece of content potentially reaching a large amount of people. When we're talking about what you should be aiming for in terms of competing at a high level, I say the most success we're seeing with our clients is a minimum of 1 a day. If you want to compete at a higher level, aiming for at least 1 video created per day, that gives us 7 videos per week, is kind of the starting point that I think you will need in order to compete at that high level. We're going to talk about later on in this presentation how you can do so and not just be filming every day, how we can make this simpler. But I think the real thing we want to talk about in terms of building our digital six-pack is that sort of consistency and recognizing that, look, if we were going to talk about, Dre, I want to get into shape, I would say, look, we need to be eating healthy, we need to work out, we need to do some exercise. And that's what the same thing is here for social media. So if you're looking to hire someone or if you're looking to do the content yourself, please compare it to getting in shape. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. And this isn't something that you can invest in for 3 months and then start eating like trash, for example, right? Of course, sticking to a regimen for a period of time, being strict on your diet will help. But at the end of the day, you can't just go back to your old ways or you'll start to not see those good results. So basically, I want everybody here to get in that mindset of like, social media is here to stay. And it's something that we need to be investing a portion of our time into. And if we don't have time, a portion of our funding into in order to build a real community. It's something that is going to take that consistency. So let's talk about the recipe for actually building engaging content. First, we're going to talk about the hook. Now, when we're talking about a hook, this is the first kind of 3 seconds of a video, 2-3 seconds, something that you're going to do to capture the attention of the audience who's watching your videos. Now, when we're talking about how we can capture an audience's attention, we need to think the way that social media platforms today are measuring success are a number of things. But one of the most important things that they're measuring is how long are people watching your video? Are they watching the video to the end? And are they rewatching the video? So when we're creating our hooks, we need to keep this in mind and say, okay, what can we say in this first 2 seconds of the video that creates this anticipation, this mystery, but also has some sort of urgency that will make them not turn away, not swipe away, and give them a reason to watch the video until the end. So we're going to see a few examples here. And as I'm giving you, these kind of recipes for building this engaging content, I want you to keep in mind, my goal with this is, number one, if you are working independently, hopefully this will give you some ideas of how you can make your content. Or if you're hiring someone, hopefully these tips will give you some sort of measurement so you can be able to understand, okay, is this person doing a good job? Or is this someone that maybe we should look at someone else to be helping us with our work? So taking a look at these video samples, I will say we were not having the most success with the audio. So everybody watching here, I will be sending this presentation to CHFA and they're going to share it with everybody. So if you don't have the best audio, you will be able to access it afterwards. And I'm going to try and explain some of it. I'm going to hold my mic to my headphones, so hopefully it makes it a little bit better. But let's take a look at these hooks and then I'm going to kind of break them down for you. The Americans are jealous. I was honestly concerned that the ice cream was going to make the caramel popcorn soggy, but no, this is fresh and crunchy. One complaint is that there's just not enough popcorn. They just kind of sprinkled it at the top, and it's not like baked into the ice cream. But I must say, those bites with the popcorn and the ice cream are unbelievable.
I can't believe this is only in Canada. This is a repeat buy. 9.1 out of 10.
So thinking of how we can create some sort of an emotional response for our audience, right? You'll see a lot of the videos that I make are geared towards an American audience. I know that, as someone who promotes snacks, there's a big snack audience. There's a diverse audience there. And I know that's where a lot of my followers come from. So I will gear a lot of my content towards the American audience. So I'll say things that try to incite some sort of an emotional response, like a hook of the Americans are jealous. So you're hoping that, hey, with this hook, they're going to watch to the end. Okay, why am I jealous? Where is this guy going with this? And you don't really fully understand what's happening until the end of the video. And you're like, oh, there's this snack. It's only available in Canada. But there's enough in that first hook to keep the audience's attention, to keep them wanting more, because you've made such a statement that they'll be like, hey, what do you mean? Why would I be jealous? Let's take another look at another example of that. Different hook, but kind of the same premise. And notice with this particular example, hopefully the audio is somewhat working for you guys. If not, please go back and check it out. For this particularly, the hook used here is enough to incite some sort of interaction, but you kind of will need to really rewatch the video to fully understand what the message is. So let's watch this again.
Americans are getting ripped off comparing grocery prices from around the world. Today we're looking at lettuce. This is what the average American pays. This is Canada. And here's what you pay in Spain. Follow for more ridiculous grocery prices from around the world.
So this is a particular video that did surprisingly well. It's very short. And in my hook, I say, comparing grocery prices from around the world. So even if you don't fully digest what the text is saying, you're hoping that that topic of the video is giving some sort of anticipation or shock, excitement from the audience, that if they don't fully get the message, they'll go back and rewatch. And because the video is so short and concise, it's easy to rewatch it because it don't take too much of the time being used here. Of course, there's different styles of videos. Some people will choose to do longer form. This is just one of the styles of videos that I found a lot of success for, both for our clients that we work with and for myself, typically keeping videos between the 15 and 30-second mark. Now, I will say those time periods are starting to get longer. There are some other creators who do quite well with the 1 minute mark. I know people who do more than 2 minutes. I think at the end of the day, we will not know what's working for our brand until we test things out. And so if you're working with a particular marketing agency, if you're doing it yourself, or if you've hired some sort of an intern, my message to you is you need to put the time in to do the testing. Test different hooks like this. Test the 1 minute video. Test the 30-second, the 15-second. You won't really know until you do it consistently. And I'm not saying, test it once or twice. Go through a 3-month period, go through a 5-month period, and compare what styles of videos are working for you. Unfortunately, there's no one size fits all that I'm going to be able to give you here. I'm going to show you what's worked for me, what's worked for some of our clients. But at the end of the day, you can try to copy every single thing that I'm saying to you here exactly. And the algorithms are going to evolve and completely react differently for your specific profile. So taking bits and pieces of what I'm talking about today and then making it your own. When we're talking about shock and anticipation in that hook, be mindful of that shock and anticipation should have purpose. We cannot blindly just try and create some sort of shock without giving value or honesty. At the end of the day, we're trying to create trust with our audiences. And when we lead with anticipation, our goal still is to have our audiences leave the video saying, hey, I learned something new. I got something from this that I didn't have before I watched this video. Making sure we're not just saying something shocking just because we know it's going to get a rile out of people. We want to make sure that it still is rooted in that aspect of education, entertainment, rooted in some sort of a cultural factor that they may find interesting. As much as the words we say are important, as much as how we say them are important, be mindful of what you can do visually. And that's going to go into a next part where we talk about entertaining the eyes. But doing little things like this can really help you out in terms of making someone be a thumb stopper. That's what we're trying to do here. When we're on the For You page, which is the popular page, if you're not familiar with it, when your content is being discovered on this For You or popular page, you're competing with absolutely every content creator in the world. We're competing with the Mr. Beasts, the Logan Pauls, the Kim Kardashians of the world. So we need to do everything we can to add a shock factor. So you'll notice with this sample on the right that I'm giving you that I do a 5 things you need to know if you like to eat. It's one of my segments, and we'll talk about segments a little later in this conversation. But what you'll notice from this sample is I do kind of a 5. I throw my hand at the camera, and as you're scrolling, it's kind of a thumb stopper. You're like, okay, whoa, what did this guy just throw at the camera, sort of thing. And I'm using things like emojis and different text that's easy to kind of identify to tell my story. And on the example on the left, you'll see this creator does a little bit of a bop. It's very subtle, but he does a movement and then he begins speaking. But when you're scrolling, that little movement, it stands out. There's a little bit of an adjustment you have to make. It's not just a phone on a tripod standing still. So thinking about what you can do visually, I know a lot of creators will just, even if they set their phone up on a tripod, they'll make like a little jolt towards the camera. It's little subtle things like this that really help separate your videos from others as people are scrolling through the For You page. So let's look at this example here. And so it's not really about the audio. I'll play that again, but you'll notice I throw my hand and then I'll even add like a little GIF of some sort of an animation, which on both Instagram and TikTok, there's a little GIF or GIF tab, however you pronounce it. There's a little tab and you can add something. So I'll search like pop or explosion or confetti. And whenever I throw my hand, I'll do like a little animation pop. It's not super high tech. It's a quick click on the GIF button and searching of pop or explosion or confetti. So let's watch that again. And then something a little more subtle. Joey Wellness, who's a great creator that I admire as well, he does a little kind of bop. And you'll notice how if you're scrolling, he'll jump down. So as you're scrolling, it's almost like his body drops down with your finger or thumb as you're scrolling. It's subtle, but something that really helps a video stand out. Right, we'll see that again. And also amplifying it with emotion, something that you'll see that both of these videos have in common. Obviously, projecting our voices, being super excited. Your audience is only going to get as excited as you are when you're speaking. So how can you make your story a little bit more exaggerated or exciting when you're telling it? Expanding on that is entertaining the eyes. When we talk about entertaining the eyes, we talk about changing our position on camera. As you're creating different slides, can you change your position on camera every sentence? So maybe I'll start here on camera, then I'll be a little bit closer, then maybe I'll be further away with a green screen, then maybe I'll be in my kitchen. This is a great example of this. This is something that you'll notice in 2 different ways. I'm going to kind of link these 2 just to save time, both number 2 and number 3, which is using text to tell a story as well. Notice the text being used and the entertaining of the eyes as she's jumping from point to point. I'm trying to make my points as concise as possible because I want to make sure I fit all this information into this presentation. So if I'm going a little bit fast, I apologize. I will say that we will be giving this recording to you guys as well. And I'll be talking about something that I'll be offering as an opportunity for you if you wanted to continue learning after this presentation. So as we're looking at this particular example, you'll notice how she's jumping around screen. There's different GIFs being incorporated. And at the same time, when you watch the video, you can, and maybe the audio isn't that great, so it's a great example, you could still get the gist of the video. You still get the message when the audio is not working. Why this is actually a great thing is the majority of social media, 72% of social media content is consumed with the sound off. Many people are consuming it in a meeting, in class, on the go, on the bus, when they shouldn't be. And so that's why it's very important to use text to amplify our messages and kind of do the mute test to see, hey, can you get the gist of this video with the sound off? So let's watch this again. The sound probably isn't that great on your end, but just see how you can fully digest the video even without the sound. Number 4 is keep it simple. This is something that I come across quite often with brands. And I understand that, which is a great thing, that a lot of brands have many messages that they want to talk about. And they'll say, Dre, I want to talk about how we're passionate about sustainability, how great our ingredients are. I want to talk about how my dad started the business. I want to talk about how we're from Ontario. And they'll list all these great things. And they'll say, the video doesn't say everything. And for me, when they're telling me their story, that could be 7, 8, 10 different videos. We need to really keep our ideas simple and concise and not throw too much information at individuals. So as we're creating our content, thinking about one idea at a time, not throwing too much at people, and help simplify what we're trying to say to the viewers. Number 5 is cultural relevancy. Now, whether it's you who's doing this work yourself as a social media person, or if you're hiring someone, part of that role is not only creating content and studying the latest trends, but it's knowing what is culturally relevant to your audience. What movies does your audience currently listen to? Who are their favorite singers, audiences? What do they do in their free time? Really getting to know what is happening currently and finding a way to work it into your content is also a great way, number 1, to show your audience that you're one of them. But number 2, it's kind of a way to trick the algorithms a little bit, because as these things become trendy, the algorithms are looking to promote certain topics. For example, if there's a new Super Mario movie or Barbie, the Barbie movie was a great example recently, right? How can you work these culturally relevant topics into your content or your brand? For example, just to save time, I'm not going to play the full video, but let's say you are a healthy soda company and you see that there is a Super Mario movie, maybe you're going to make a Super Mario themed mocktail in order to kind of tap into that movie, that kind of trend, assuming that that's your target audience. If you have a millennial audience, maybe you'll know that, hey, they grew up playing Super Mario games, therefore this is tapping into the algorithm and showing your audience that, hey, you actually understand who they are and you're one of them as well. But having your finger on the latest trends, watching social media as well, knowing what the For You page looks like, that's kind of the best way to really understand what's trending culturally, what's working, and what's not. So when we think about where we're getting started, I want everybody to envision their profiles sort of as a television station. And instead of chasing trends and trying to think of something new and ridiculous every day, we need to think of different segments we can create. Something that is a topic that we are passionate about, that is relevant to our brand mission, that we can talk about on a consistent basis. Can it be separated into multiple parts? Part 1, part 2. I have my 5 things you need to know if you like to eat, where I talk about different things trending in the food world. I'm on part 50 something. And it's kind of endless in that way. And thinking about different segments that are essentially brand pillars, things that represent you on social that you can talk about on a weekly basis, so that every week you can kind of plan in advance, have your kind of go-to topics that you need to talk about. And then, of course, as trends come and go, you can sprinkle those on. But at the end of the day, we're really trying to think of what are our brand pillars? What do we want to be known for as a brand? And how can we bring value to the audience as we talk about things? That's the number 1 thing we need to think about. At the end of the day, when we're making a piece of content, you need to look at the video and say, what is somebody getting from this video? How can they watch this and leave with something they didn't know before? So here are just some general ideas to kind of get the ball rolling. Comparison content is always a winner. It's a consistent brand pillar, a consistent strategy that almost any food brand can do, especially if you're in the better for you space. You're using other ingredients that are likely healthier, kind of separate you from the others. Can you make comparisons that are relevant to what the average person is eating and showcase in a fun way how your product is kind of the same thing, same kind of quality of enjoyment, but has all these other health benefits to it. So comparison being one of those things you can do on a consistent basis. Number two, being a voice of the industry you are in, right? Not feeling like we need to promote our products in every single video, which may be kind of foreign for a lot of us, especially if we're like, hey, I'm paying someone to make content for me. You're telling me don't put my product front and center in every single video. At the end of the day, we're trying to build a community of like-minded people who care about products, and we're thinking about the long term of this. So when we're thinking long term, we're thinking about what do these people care about in their daily lives? What are they passionate about? Then how can we sprinkle in the fact that we make a really good product later on or once in a while so that they feel like we're one of them? We want to build friendships and communities, people who want to invest in us. And often you don't really need that super virality. You don't need millions of followers. Maybe you can have just a small group of passionate people who really believe in your product, who buy on a consistent basis. And that's enough to kind of turn your product into a sustainable business. And that's what I'm hoping for you today as you're watching this content here. Being a voice of your industry is a way that you can do that, right? If you are talking about, let's say you're very passionate about sauces, you make a healthy sauce. Talking about the sauce industry in general, what's new ingredients? Is something getting banned in a certain country? Maybe you should talk about that. How is that the sugar content or the ingredients being affected in the sauce industry as a whole? Talking about your industry, updating people about that. If you have a dairy product, talking about the dairy industry as a whole, educating people. How has it evolved over time? A brief history on it. Health benefits, right? These are all different things that you could still be a voice of your industry, but you're still not, shoving your product down your throat, the throats of your viewers. That's really what we want to stay away from, feeling like we don't always have to say, buy this, make sure you click on our link in bio. Saying link in bio is one of the quickest way to make someone kind of swipe away. So we want to always make sure we're giving value first before we're actually asking them to potentially invest in us or take an action for us. Number three is something that all of us should be doing if we have a brand, if we have a product, and that is a brand story showcase. All of us, if we have a brand, we've overcome some sort of obstacle, some sort of struggle, and finding a way to tell this story in a fun, unique way, feeling comfortable to get vulnerable, sometimes even grabbing your phone and doing a selfie video and talking about, where you came from, how you got to where you were, and not thinking you need to be fancy, but following the order of the things that we talked about today. You could still do a very great hook that captures people's attention. Maybe you're on the go. Are you in public? Try and making it look casual, not super scripted, right? We want things to look authentic, casual, lighthearted. I used to say this just about TikTok, but it's become all vertical platforms. Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels have quickly become us sitting down for a drink or a coffee with our audience. It's not feeling like we have to put on a suit and be super professional. We can be lighthearted. We can be fun with our audiences on these platforms. And more, those are the brands that people want to invest in, ones that look like they're just like the average person. So when we're talking about our brand story showcase, thinking about a way to simplify it, I was sick of blank, so I did this, and that's your solution. Keeping that in mind, there's so many different videos you can create. There's a lot of trending sounds, for example. Trending sounds where you will see a sound played, then there will be a beat drop, and then a sound will change. There's many different versions of that. Creators create new ones on a weekly, daily basis, using those sounds to tell a different way of, hey, I was sick of this, and therefore I did this. And you're just using a trending sound. You're just using visuals. You don't have to say anything, and you can tell your brand story on a consistent basis Or of course, you can get on camera and speak and tell your story. But different ways, finding ways to get creative and still tell this story, tell your story of obstacles you overcame. Then there's fun and unrelated content. When we think of fun and unrelated content, this also taps into the fact of, hey, we don't always need to be promoting our products, but some fun, casual product placement can also work quite well, especially if you get some sort of a viral moment. You see people who are watching your video, seeing your personality, but also seeing, hey, what is this person drinking on the side? Or what is that product on the side of the corner? When we think of fun and unrelated content, I think of a particular example from a beer company. There was a trend going around about the way you part your hair is, it says a lot about what generation you came from. So they went around their brewery to people who were working there and they put their camera on them. And, you know, someone has a middle part, someone has a side part, someone has like messy hair, no part. And that was kind of the trend. And as they were doing this, they had their little beer can, and you know, the girls who worked for the company were like taking sips, walking around the office, but then like showing Jim from the marketing department and like showing his hair. And really there was no call to action to purchase your product, but it's something to have fun with, something to showcase your personality. Being aware of what is happening on these platforms, being someone who's a consumer of these platforms, being on the popular page, the For You page. I can give you some general topics and ideas, but these are going to evolve so consistently that you need to kind of be aware of what is happening in order to tap into maybe some of these trends. But when it comes to, you know, your brand story showcase, being the voice of your industry, some comparison content, coming up with your brand pillars and things you want to say that are related to your mission statement are something that you don't have to chase. So that's why I always advise, you know, come up with your brand pillars, refine them, advance them. So let's say you followed some of these things, some of these procedures, and you've had some success. Now what? The biggest mistake that a lot of brands do is they're like, well, we had a really great success. Let's do it again. Let's find a new concept. But what I'm here to say is when you have that one moment of success, and that might be, you know, your average video views are only 200. And then one day you have a video that's 5,000 views. That is a big moment. That's the algorithm telling you, hey, something happened here. Something happened in this video that we like better than your others. And now it's your job to be a detective. Break down this video. Try the hook again. Is there something that you said in the video that maybe you should repeat? Is it the text you used? Is it where you shot the video? You're not going to know this until you recreate different versions, test it out, and recreate. But once you have success, there are so many different things you can do with that same footage, right? You can repost the viral video at a different time, the successful video. You can recut the successful video, maybe add a new hook, make it a little bit shorter, maybe make it a little bit longer. See how this is going to advance the success of it. This could be with, you know, let's say you had 10,000, 100,000, 5,000, anything that you consider success or above average views for your profile. You can duet the viral video, you know, you as the founder giving commentary on what you were thinking as this successful video happened. You can video reply to comments. You can repost the same video with a new caption. You can repost the same video with a slightly different concept. And we're going to talk about that example in a moment. This is an example that I saw that for a number of reasons why this stood out to me. Number one, promoting alcohol and cannabis products on social media can be tricky. So you have to get quite creative in order to make sure you don't do anything illegal. This particular video went viral, and this is for a cannabis rolling device. But why it stood out to me was because if you looked at this profile, they just used the same footage over and over again, and they followed this exact procedure. And this is more of a recent thing that I saw, so I wanted to share it with you. So again, I don't know if the volume is going to come through, but I just want to kind of show you these examples, and I highly recommend you go back and take a look at this.
This is how I make my broccoli roll so perfect. I just cut up my broccoli, put it in and twist for a few seconds. Then I add my baking sheet and twist again. And just like that, it's ready to go in the oven.
So if you can't hear it that well, this video went viral. He was like, oh, look, this is only for broccoli. Obviously, we don't use it for anything else. And he just shows you how to use the device. That video got some traction. And you'll notice in the second video also did well. All they did was reply to a comment. They used the exact same footage, and all they did was reply with a voiceover, used the exact same footage. They probably shot this. They could make this video in their bed lying down. It's something you could do in 5 minutes. So just showing how you can reuse, recycle, get some traction without having to jump back into the studio and start recording, or jump back into your car and do a selfie video. You can reuse your material.
Yes, sir. This device helps you make a broccoli roll recipe to bake in the oven. There is literally no other purpose. You just put it in and twist for a few seconds. Then you add your baking sheet and twist again. And now it's ready for baking.
For time's sake, I'm not going to play all of these videos because I want to make sure there's some time for Q&A at the end. But once you do get a chance to go back, you'll see these videos. They just remade the same video, but now they're in the kitchen from different angles. They're replying to more comments. Then they're repeating the same concept with a different vegetable. They used cheese for this one. So they just said the exact same thing, but they used cheese, and there's repetition. This is something that I do over and over again as well. It's this kind of finding my thing that worked and repeating that I kind of tapped into for my audience and have done over and over again. And I kind of gave you the example of the 5 thing that I do. So to save time as well, I'm not going to play all these videos. When you go back and reference them, though, you'll see this video on the left is 5 crazy chip flavors you need to know about. Then I have my 5 things you need to know if you like to eat. And then 5 countries, but who pays the most. So I'm following that same procedure because I have, through testing, through trial and error, realized that hook worked really well, and finding a different way to say a different story using that same hook. What I want everybody to get comfortable here is repetition, and not getting obsessed with, oh, but my thumbnails, they don't look pretty. Oh no, people are going to go through my videos and it's going to be the same thing over and over again. At the end of the day, we are trying to build attention for a new or a growing brand. And that's predominantly going to happen on the popular pages, on the For You pages. Very few people are going to come to your profile and be like, I don't like this brand because the aesthetic of the thumbnails is not working. Where they're going to fall in love with you is where you showcase your personality in the actual content. And at the end of the day, we need to play to the algorithms to know, hey, the algorithm's telling you, I like this. You've gotten above average views organically. Therefore, tap into that, take advantage of that. Also remembering to be social on social media. I think this is a thing that we very much overlook. On our team, we've started to work with somebody who is working on our team exclusively as the engagement person. And all they're doing is, I'm not talking about replying to DMs, I'm talking about getting on your profile and engaging with people in the comment section. So I do this for myself as well. I know that a lot of my audience are following a lot of other content creators who do similar things. So I'll go and try and make funny, witty comments on profiles that I know potential audience members who like my content would engage with. So, I'll go onto the McDonald's profile and I'll leave a cheeky comment, or I'll go engage with some of the Lay's accounts or some of the chocolate companies, for example, because I know my audience is there. And so that's what I'm saying for you as a brand as well. If you're overwhelmed, you don't have time to film, for example, you don't have time for new content, besides reposting or using footage you already have, take 20 minutes, half hour a day, an hour a day to engage as your profile. Comment on posts where you think your target audience will be. Comment on profiles of influencers in your niche that you hope to work with. Search for relevant words related to your niche and comment on the top posts. So for example, using Instagram search, using TikTok search, when we search specific words, if we search better for you chocolate, for example, the top posts that mention that topic will appear. It's giving you a hack of who's already doing really well in your industry. So number one, you can take some inspiration from those content creators, but also that's potentially where your audience would be. Get involved with those conversations, get in the comment section. If you're familiar with social media, we've all seen the comment section where there's a very funny comment that gets 20,000 likes, 100,000 likes because they said something hilarious. That leads to interaction. If you say something funny, people are going to click on your profile and be like, who is this person? They're hilarious. Let me learn more. And that's why we're taking the time to engage there. Now it's going to be hard to say, hey, I left this comment and therefore people went to my website and I made a sale this way. But again, we're doing this to build brand, to build attention. If you're investing in social media, especially if you're new, you can't expect to spend $100 and then next month the $100 comes back. It's the same way if you're investing in a trainer. You can't be like, we went to the gym 1 month and be like, I didn't lose any weight this month. I'm wasting my money. It takes time to build brand. It takes time to make people care about who you are, who your brand is. Another thing you can do is comment on other brand profiles in a related industry, right? Make friends, find different brands you can collaborate with. The collaboration tool is on Instagram is a great tool for us, a great way to share audiences for free. A lot of us who are in the similar space, who are, a better for you brand or a healthier food brand with a similar audience, share audiences. And then it comes to, if you believe in a real concept, if you believe in a creative idea, don't just post it one time. You take the time to create an idea, and it's such a shame to just post it one time. So again, saving time because I want to jump to Q&A in a second. In the video, this explains, this is one of the case studies from one of our clients. We created a video for them, and the first time we posted it, it did okay. I think it got 10,000 views or under. It did well. But then we're like, hey, we really believe in this concept. Let's post it again. So we posted it again. Didn't do that well. Got maybe half the amount, a lot less engagement. And I think that's where many brands stop. They'll repost it and be like, the repost is done. It didn't do well. Dre's wrong. Look, it flopped. Then we reposted it a third time. And that third time is when we did see the exact same video, the exact same caption. We just posted it at a different time, a different day. And then the video ended up getting over 200,000 views. Same video, same concept. And we've done this with many of our clients. We've done it. Sometimes it's the fourth time that we've posted the video. Sometimes it's the fifth time, and it sounds ridiculous. But of course, you're not posting it one after the other, right? You're posting other content in between this, and you're spreading it out. But just feeling comfortable with repetition is something that you need to get comfortable with. The days of spending a month on one video concept and hiring a team to film it, and then you're all excited and you put it out, and then you spend a bunch of money on guessing if the video is going to do well, that doesn't have to happen anymore. We have this organic testing that we can do. Then once we get some sort of organic traction, that's when we can say, okay, this is a good idea. Maybe we should make this into an advertisement. I don't think you need to blindly make ads anymore. The creative is what's mainly going to drive the ads, and the organic is strong on a lot of these platforms. So we should be beta testing first before we're going to invest some dollars into the actual ads. I'll give another example of this from our client Good Food for Good as well. And that is this example on the left. I'll play the video. It's very short, very concise. And the whole concept is, realizing that 3 tablespoons of ketchup equals X amount of sugar. And it's like having this many Chips Ahoy cookies. That's kind of one of the brand pillars that we work with. So we played this one video and we noticed it did really well. It hit 1.2 million views on TikTok. So we're like, okay, let's try out this concept. So that video was only 6 seconds, but when you're playing it on TikTok, it'll loop. So it'll loop very quickly. So the replay value on it is quick. And there's enough happening that people are like, whoa, what just happened? And that did lead to 1.2 million views. But then you'll say, well, Dre, there was no real branding on this. I don't know if I would use this as an ad. And of course, this is us identifying there's a concept here. There's something entertaining happening that the algorithm likes, that people are engaging with. How can we now turn this into something that looks, a little bit more branding? It's still keeping the value that people are getting from the video, but you could see our brand a little more. So we recreated the same concept, making the same point. We used a different creator, but we did a very similar thing. But then we added a little bit more branding to it. But you'll notice the branding comes after. It's not the first thing you see. You don't want people to think it's an ad. You want to give value first, then ask for something, then call to action, then promotion. And then we did the same recreation, and this video got 1.2 million views on YouTube Shorts. That's why we are recycling. We are using the same videos across all platforms that are vertical video. I know that's likely a question I will get. If you have unlimited budget, unlimited time, I would say, yeah, of course, the people that are consuming content react a little bit differently on YouTube Shorts. The messaging might be a little bit differently on TikTok versus Instagram. But because the majority of us in this conversation probably don't have unlimited funds and time, it would be a waste to not use that same video across the platform. And we have many examples where it flops on TikTok and does really well on YouTube Shorts. In fact, this recreation did about average for us on TikTok, but really took off on YouTube Shorts. And we'll never figure out which platform it works well for exactly. So we have to test it across the board. And again, these will loop on your pages, so it's easier to digest them, hopefully generating enough attention at the beginning that people will be like, whoa, what exactly is she saying? I can't believe it's that many cookies or it's that much sugar. And so to summarize things for this conversation, before we kind of jump to Q&A, what I want to say is, if we want to lose weight, if we want to get in shape, it needs to be something that we do consistently, and recognizing that once we invest our time into social media, this is when we build a real community. This is not something that's going to happen overnight, but we need to be comfortable with testing out different concepts, investing in our creators, trusting our creators, recognizing how important it is to know what is culturally relevant for our audience, and then taking the time to test what's right, test what's wrong, repetition, 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 and then finding a way to turn some of our successful videos into advertisements, and then repeating the cycle. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be a part of this presentation. And before we kind of take some Q&A, I just want everyone to know I am putting together some sort of a masterclass for anybody who's interested in learning some more, where we don't have to try and consume all this in an hour. So if you want to learn more, please send me an email, and I'd love to chat some more about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dre. So we do have one question in our Q&A from April. So she's asking, what are your thoughts on converting social media awareness into in-store traffic, ways to draw more people in the store?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of great examples, especially in the restaurant space, that I think that you can use as a test example. But what I say is, number one, getting your creators in the stores is one of the number one ways to do that. And also trying to incentivize it with, in-person sales versus online sales. The same way where we do some sort of a giveaway or promo code online, can we incentivize them to go in person? Can we also do a giveaway where if you post, a photo of yourself in stores, that's how you enter, and you give away a prize of value to them. Also finding different creators who will comfortably go in stores, influencers who will go in stores. Meet and greets is also something, if you work with local people, if you're very local, right? Incorporating someone from the health space to come to one of the trade shows you're at, or to one of the vendors if you're at some sort of a market, something like that. But giveaways is a great way to start.
That's a great tip. Thank you for that, Dre. Is there any more questions before we end our webinar today? If there is, you can always reach out to info@chfa.ca, and I'll definitely forward it along to Dre. So as far as questions, Dre, I think we are good on that. I just want to thank you for being here. It was a really great presentation. I loved all your tips on how businesses can use social media to advance their own business goals. I think my favorite part is your mention about being the voice of the industry. As you know, CHFA is all about that, as well as our members. So thank you guys all for being here today. Like I said, if you do have any questions, just email info@chfa.ca. And thank you, Dre, also for being here and sharing your expertise with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a great